Part of my series of giving my little bit of words of wisdom from what I've learned from the trough that I was in. By the way, this is part of my healing. I'm redoing my bedroom, and that's why it looks like this. So I was really enjoying the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary on Netflix. I know as a member of SAG, I think I was supposed to delete streaming services. I didn't. Have you seen Arnold? It's very good, compelling. How he propelled himself forward is very interesting and laudable. Spoiler alert, hard childhood in defeated Austria, very interesting. Besides it being a good story, the part of the documentary I've been having with myself, that makes no sense. The part of the documentary that really echoed for me conversations I've had with myself concerns moving forward after or despite difficult times. Living in America and certainly in a multicultural city like Los Angeles, I see that immigrants are frequently harder working, more practical than American-born folks like myself. So there's lots to be learned from these people. To paraphrase of one of my favorite quotes from 30 Rock, first generation Americans work hard, second generation Americans go to college, third generations take improv. That would be me. So, and then on the newest branch of my family, I think I'm fourth generation. So it's a wonder I'm even standing upright, sitting upright. So when Arnold had a setback or a loss, he quoted, well, she's not an immigrant, but he quoted his former mother-in-law, Eunice Shriver, saying, move on, move on, move on. And of course, you know, she had to survive 2 assassinations of her brothers. So she knows something about resilience. And also having to go through the life with the name Eunice. So Arnold essentially says he doesn't think dwelling on the self is a good idea. If you are down, it's because you are not busy. Be useful. Now, a year or two ago, I don't think I could have heard that. The sudden death of my husband coming on top of lockdown, which came on top of a couple of years of marital strife, which came on top of professional setbacks, left me flattened. Roadkill. I was preoccupied about the well-being of my children to the point where it was even hard for me to leave the house because I didn't want to leave them. However, earlier this year, I did start to feel a bit better. And then we had another death in the family. And to protect the privacy of others, I won't say much about it except that I felt that big black hole that I had just climbed out of, opening wide, so wide that it was pulling me back in. Essentially sat on the couch and ate and drank for a month. But this time, I also thought, no, I'm not going here again. I can't. And as one ages, there is a body count. Move on, move on, move on. I had to be busier. I had to be useful. And I had to remember the satisfaction that I always got as a professional. I asked Meals on Wheels if I could volunteer for them in their kitchen. And having to honor my commitment and show up to cook was better than therapy. Both people I had recently lost had worked in the culinary arts. So at first, just chopping onions and thinking of how they held their knives and processing feelings while actually doing something worthwhile was much more helpful than ruminating, and certainly better than scrolling. Then I remembered as I'm doing all this, I do have my own skills. I had my own show. I had a cooking show. I've catered. I've done pop-ups. I've owned restaurants. I remember these things. I like the work. I like the people who I'm working with. The more I did there and in other work, paid and volunteer, that I was doing, the more I could do, the better I felt. In the documentary, when Arnold Schwarzenegger is saying, work on your calf muscles. Wait, no, that's not right. Not that part. When he says, if you feel down, get busy, be useful. I said, yes, Terminator. I agree. And in grief, what made me feel better? Paying someone to hear me describe these feelings or increasing exercise? hobbies, creative interests, work, ding, 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 ding. It's not the ruminating. So yes, did I have some therapy in the last couple of years? Yes. Sort of to help me order my thoughts. But not much, because it is expensive, and that money I spent on getting my kids support. Also, I grew up on the west side of Los Angeles, and they don't actually allow you to leave the city limits if you didn't have therapy before going off to college. Did therapy help my kids? A little. But doing sports and activities that interested them and being with friends and family did more. As my son said to me when he was begging off another round of grief group and therapy, I'm tired of talking about Dad. And that was his version of move on. Move on. As I think of it, onward. I like the word onward, since it doesn't leave you. You take it with you. You put your pain or departed person or disappointment in your unseen Dora the Explorer backpack, and you take it with you. But you keep going. For many, many months, I felt such anguish. I wished for a pill that could take the emotional ache away. I could see how people become drug addicts because my sorrow was resting in my bones. If you are in that space, you think it will never end. I didn't believe people when they said time heals all wounds, because it's not true. Time helps, but it's time and action. And it doesn't heal all wounds. The wound is still there, but time and action help that wound. No, it doesn't help a wound. That doesn't make sense. It's not an open, gaping wound, and it's not gone. It's more like the scar on your leg from when you fell off your bike. From a distance, you can't see it. Oh, good, my legs still look nice. And then you look more closely, and it's visible, and it will always be there. At this time, I also removed my social media apps. I kept going on them to get something I never got, some sort of dopamine rush, help, blah, blah, blah. And at best, I'd like to see people's vacations, but mostly they're just empty calories, like eating shitty potato chips and never getting full. So if you've been humbled by life like me, and who hasn't? Even Arnold has. I'm going to occasionally offer some words of wisdom. And my wisdom today is get off your butt and do something. And if you watch the documentary, you can have free weights handy, because I couldn't watch a documentary on Schwarzenegger and not do some dips and curls. Something. If you like this, like it, subscribe. See you later.